Greetings, Malifaux fans. This is Crazy Carl, back with another Malifaux video battle report. Today I'm bringing you a 35 Soulstone Arcanist versus Neverborn scrap, with me, your hero, playing the Arcanists, and Chris, aka Twisted Metal from the Weird Forums, playing the Neverborn. I flipped Destroy the Evidence, and Chris had flipped Reconnoiter, so we went into our crew selection, and I have the options in Arcanists of playing aRamos or Colette, and I will say I did not really choose the correct master for this strategy, but I just wanted to try. I wanted to try something new, so I was going with aRamos because I just recently finished painting up my aRamos crew, and I really wanted to give him a shot. So I chose aRamos. Chris wisely chose Zoraida, which I thought was interesting, and then he mentioned that he had Claudia, and that made a lot more sense to me because Claudia is really, really good like that. So Chris had Zoraida with a 5 Soulstone cache, which is her base cache. Kaladi, 4 Marionettes, a Stitch Together, Doppelganger, Insidious Madness, and then a Primordial Magic, which was attached to Kaladi. So really nice, strong crew. The fact that Kaladi gives all dolls within 12 inches of him significance is real, makes them lose insignificant, I guess is a better way to put it. Makes him really, really good for this strategy. You're able to put a lot of different models all over the board. Zoraida is able to just toss out Wicked dolls if need be. Her Voodoo doll is also a doll. He's really, really good for the strategy, and Chris chose a really, really powerful crew for this. And obviously you have the strength of Kaladi just being really, really good and being really fast. So that's really, really good on his part. For my part, I took aRamos with his avatar attached and his 7th Soulstone cache. I had the mobile toolkits, large steampunk arachnid, which I was planning on blowing up for scrap, 2 steampunk arachnids, and then a pair of union miners and a gunsmith. I had just recently finished painting up my union miners, and I wanted to give them a try. And I thought they might be okay for this strategy, but in hindsight, probably not, because the only things I'm going to have to pop them to with their File False Claim are themselves or aRamos, and aRamos isn't really going to get up the board very quickly early, although I guess I probably should have used them a little bit differently and manifested aRamos more early than I did, but regardless, that's just that's getting a bit ahead of myself. So Chris had, as I said, Reconnoiter. He also took Kidnap, which he hid, obviously, which was on the 2 Steampunk Arachnids and my mobile toolkit, so good choice there. And then he hid Frame for Murder on his Insidious Madness. For myself, I took Breakthrough and Do I Have to Do Everything Myself, which is aRamos' personal scheme where he has to kill a model with Electrical Fire and with his Mechanical Fist, both of which are Clockwork Fist, both of which he keeps after he manifests, which is pretty cool. So early game was pretty straightforward for me. I wasn't terribly afraid of Kaladi getting at me this turn. I mean, Kaladi's capable of it, but if he does that, he overextends himself majorly, and you can just pick off Marionettes easily after that. So Chris was pretty smart. He just moved his Marionettes up a little bit and kept them together, so he was able to prime them again with, what's it called, Puppet Show. So good choice on his part. I moved up my Union Miners, trying to keep them together so they can support each other and get their bonus on attack flips when they're attacking near each other. And then I had the mobile toolkit move up with aRamos, obviously, and then the spiders move up. I tried to summon Electric Creation and a spider, but I failed to do so. I actually didn't summon a spider this turn, now that I think of it. I don't know why I didn't. I just didn't really think I needed to. So, actually, no, I know what I was trying to do. I was planning on keeping the large Steampunk Arachnid around as another activation, which was kind of silly in hindsight because I could just have a spider from the scrap counters, but what are you going to do? The toolkit actually cast Summon Electric Creation, which was nice because aRamos, I think, failed because he hit a Black Joker, which happens. It seems to happen like every other game where aRamos will Black Joker either is Summon Spider or Summon Electric Creation. It's usually pretty awkward. You can see a picture of Chris's crew that's moved up. The Stitched, I don't believe, tossed up Creepy Fog, so he had line of sight open to whatever he needed to. Zoraida had no... I was very careful to keep out of Zoraida's line of sight. However, I forgot the fact that Chris had a giant tower sitting right next to his deployment zone, and he was very easily able to just fly her up there on his turn, so bad times for me. The Doppelganger stayed far back, which was smart. Some people will just make it fast and move it out to wherever they wanted to go, and that's just never a good thing, so good choices on his part all around. Going into turn 3, this is where things, or sorry, turn 2, this game was pretty rough. Turn 2, I again had my Union Miners moved up, but it meant that they were kind of on their own, which was bad because Chris was able to easily win initiative because every turn. I don't think I won a single initiative this game because of the Doppelganger, which meant Claudia was able to alpha strike stuff and then run away very easily. or at the very least keep things close by and be able to protect them. So he was able to pick off on turn 2 one of my Union Miners, which was unfortunate, and I really wasn't able to do much back. I summoned an Electrocution, but I didn't have quite the movement I needed to get it to where I needed it to go. I was able to swarm together an Arachnid Swarm, but it was just, you can see there, it looks like it's in melee with one of the Marionettes, but it's actually just out. The Gunsmith tried shooting at stuff and just failed. I think the Marionettes have the same CB as her, which made me kind of unhappy because she should have been able to hit with her paired attacks, but ended up not working out that way. There was a Marionette at the end of turn 3 that was engaged with the large Steampunk Arachnid, but for some reason the large Steampunk Arachnid just couldn't get the damage done. I think I hit it once, but they have 3 hit points, and I didn't get my Brutal trigger off, so between 3 attacks I was only able to get down to 1 wound, which was very unfortunate for me. You can see the setup, you can see some of the evidence markers that I had to deal with. One of them was being sat on by Chris's models, and the other 2 were out on the open, but I had nothing that was really fast enough to get to them. I really should have taken Colette in hindsight for this this strategy, or at the very least I should have a mechanical rider that I could take for that, which is something I may pick up in the near future because it's a really good model. Here you can see the aftermath of turn 4, where Chris had his Marionettes all stuck together with Kaladi behind the building. I had 1 Union Miner left, but it died in very short order. The Insidious Madness was sitting out there. I think Chris had left. He left it close enough so that I could kill it off with aRamos' Electrical Fire, but I decided my AP were a little more valuable than that, so I ended up not doing that. And I found out why later in the game, as he told me that he had hidden Frame for Murder. But Chris had a really nice spot. The fact that he had that building to hide behind for the Marionettes was very awkward for me. I actually summoned an Electrocreation up on top of the building. Well, I summoned it and then moved it on top of the building with the hopes that I could win initiative on turn 4 and then just walk it down and blow it up. But again, as I mentioned earlier, I got no initiative flips this game, so it was really, really unfortunate for me. I think you might have seen a glimpse of Zoraida sitting up in her tower. She sat there the entire game. There's nothing I could do about it. I eventually lost the large Steampunk Arachnid to poison from being conduited. It had actually killed off my mobile toolkit, which was unfortunate for me. And on my turn, I was going to die. I was going to activate and die, and I had an option of moving aRamos closer to Kaladi, or I could move him back towards the spider, which I ended up doing. Here you can see I manifested. What I did is I put aRamos pretty much in base to base with the large Steampunk Arachnid. When it died, I was able to drop the scrap next to aRamos, and then when I manifested, I dropped him on top of the scrap, and he picked them all up. He leapt over, got a melee attack off, but ended up not really doing much good. I think I failed to kill one of the Marionettes, which made me very unhappy. I used my Casting Expert before I manifested, so that meant I got a little bit extra AP out of him, which I think is a really, really good way of using him. It's very tempting to do the all-action and manifest on turn 2, but if you have a way of using his Casting Expert and then finding a way to use his Melee Expert during his activation, it's really, really good. It's very, very powerful. But as I said, aRamos was not able to do very much, and the game was pretty much mop-up from this point on. I'm going to kind of spoil it a little bit. The Doppelganger copied Flight from something, I can't remember what, and it moved up with Zoraida to hide on top of the tower, so there was not much of a chance of me getting to it. My only option would be to probably I guess, leap aRamos up there, or climb him up there, but that wasn't really in the cards, so it wasn't really something I was planning on doing. The rest of his models were pretty safe. The fact that Claudia was able to just get away before I was able to do much was pretty good for Chris. I did have a glimmer of hope in turn 5 where Chris had all of his Marionettes fairly close to aRamos, and I was able to activate with them nearby him because they had activated and killed off my Union Miner. I think like I said, this is turn 5. He won initiative, killed off my last Union Miner and my Gunsmith. So I activated aRamos and I used his Override spell, which is basically an obey within 8-inch pulse for all constructs. I, however, did not realize that Kaladi has Perfect Machine, which meant I wasn't able to obey him. What I was planning on doing was having Kaladi get obeyed, and then having one of the Marionettes use Pull Strings to put Kaladi on an evidence marker, and then activating Kaladi with the Override spell and flipping the evidence, and then having the Marionettes hopefully kill off Kaladi with a couple charges. As it ended up working out, Chris had actually filled Kaladi with stones, giving him armor 1 and hard to wound. Hard to kill and hard to wound. So it meant I wasn't able to quite finish him off. I ended up getting down to 1 wound, but couldn't quite get there. And this is after a charge from aRamos. So you can see turn 6, the Marionettes and Kaladi 1 initiative again, and we're able to run away from aRamos. I had a Soulstone left over, so I had 2 Soulstones left over, so I could have overridden again if I happened to win initiative, but I kept on flipping like a 13, like a 8 and then a 1, so I just kept on having initiatives on 1 and 2. I almost won 1 initiative when Chris flipped a 3, or he flipped a 2 and I flipped a 3, but then he just did a Soulstone reflip and won the initiative very easily. So unfortunate for me. Chris was able to spread out very easily, claim his 4 points for Reconnoiter. I was able to kill 1 evidence marker, but I ended up getting no points for Destroy the Evidence, no points for Breakthrough, and no points for Do I have to do everything myself because I didn't kill anything with Electrical Fire. Chris ended up getting, obviously, the 4 points for Reconnoiter, 2 points for Kidnap, and then 1 for his Frame for Murder. So it ended up being a 7-0, so a very rough game for me, but it was a lot of fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. See you next time.